By all accounts, Hurricane Gonzalo spared Bermuda the worst, with most damage to the island limited to roofs being blown off and light structural damage with no reports of casualties or serious injuries. At its strongest point, Gonzalo walloped the island with wind gusts of 144 miles an hour at midnight on Friday night. The Bermuda Electric Light Company, Belco, reported that 90% of its customers had lost power as of early Saturday morning. The sun rose brightly in Hamilton Saturday morning, perhaps a sign from above that all was well. Meanwhile, Premier Michael Dunkley speaking Saturday morning, praising the island for heeding the warnings and pulling together.
It helped us for this week.
Yeah, look, the sun is shining today. I'm sure, Trevor, that there are a lot of Bermudians who are still a bit unnerved about yesterday. That was a very serious storm, the strongest storm in the Atlantic Basin for some time, and it came right over the top of Bermuda. And Bermuda, we should be proud because we stood it in the eye. We prepared, as you said, and I think preparation was key. We prepared for it. We hunkered down. We had patience. We got right through it. That was a long storm. The hurricane force winds were on us from about 6 o'clock last night until after 2 o'clock in the morning. We had the most unusual thing of an eye coming right over us and being dead calm for 40, 50, maybe an hour in some areas. So it was very unusual. I think we came out better than a lot of people expected. What happened last weekend perhaps helped us a little bit going forward, but preparation was key, and Bermudians, our ability to buckle down, do what had to be done, stay inside, was certainly a very important part from here. So today we pick up, clean up the roads, we get back to work, and I'd like to ask for patience in the community ahead of what we have to do. The sun is out. I know people were inside all day yesterday, would like to get out and see things. But if we can keep the roads clear, we can clear the roads, we can get the power back on, and Bermuda can be back in business very quickly.
How soon do you think Belco can have us up and running?
Well, Belco, Trevor, I was in contact all throughout the day yesterday, and late to last night. I probably didn't go to sleep until somewhere around 3 or a little bit after that, only for a couple hours, because emails were going back and forth, so our communication was pretty decent. Belco's already made some progress this morning. We had an EMO meeting at 8 o'clock this morning. Before that meeting, we already had crews out on the roads where it was works, parks, regiment, cleaning up the major thoroughfares to the island. So we're going to make significant progress. We've been well prepared to go out there. We had assets pre-positioned in areas so we can make that progress. So I'm confident that they'll get big chunks back on in a quick instance. But I just ask for people for patience. Belco's got to do it in a way that's sustainable and will work, and we'll use all our resources to make sure we get people back in the level of comfort that they deserve.
What's the word on airport operations and the causeway?
Good question. The causeway, thank God, all night, it was something I was thinking about, because when the winds came out of the southeast, a lot of people have memories of Hurricane Fabian, and then when they went around to the northwest, I thought we were going to get a double blow. But the causeway came out pretty well. There appears to be some minor damage. It is our intention, and I just spoke to Works again a couple of minutes ago. The causeway will open for one-lane traffic at noon today. Not for the whole causeway, but one-lane traffic will be on part of the causeway. There appeared to be some minor safety structure issues there. The reason why we're going to do one lane is because we got to get divers overboard to look at the undercarriage to make sure that's safe. But we feel very good about the position of the causeway, and it will be open. The next thing is the airport. There's been an assessment of the terminal. It appears to be in good shape. No significant water damage in any way. We're just examining the runway, and it's our intention to do everything we can to get the airport open again tomorrow.
Schools, any major damage to any schools at all?
A little bit early for that. We haven't had the people there yet. They're still in mourning. We wanted to make sure that we got out and cleared access by daybreak this morning for the hospital, which we did. The hospital came through this pretty good. They had a few challenges with some roofing issues on the continuing care unit, but the hospital did a great job overnight, and so we now have easy access to the hospital from all ends of the island. We're getting all the major thoroughfares open. We're letting Belco get on to do what they have to do. We're reaching out. We use your media to urge anyone who might have structural challenges in their properties to call 911. We're keeping a list of people who have structural challenges, and we're having a 4 o'clock EMO meeting again this afternoon, and it's our intention to get out and put tarps on all those houses. Once we deal with the immediate concerns, then over the course of the rest of the day and tomorrow, we'll look at how we react to Monday. I think we've made great progress, and I thank all the service providers for the excellent work they're doing, and thank Bermudians for being patient and working together.
Your final assessment is a report, your final report.
I love Bermuda, and thank you to Bermudians for really rallying together and facing that tiger in the eye and chasing it away. We're coming back, and I'm proud that we work together, and we'll be back very quickly.
Speaking of the causeway, the vital road link sustained minor structural damage with a few concrete slates falling down. However, there was one unidentified man seen here on the left who attempted to cross the causeway by foot to head east, but was denied crossing by police. The man instead protesting their orders by sitting down on the causeway as police looked on. Meanwhile, helicopter personnel from the British naval ship HMS Argyll seen landing here at Police Field and Prospect to meet with officials from the Emergency Measures Organization. One British official commenting to us he was surprised by the good condition of the island in light of what just hit it. Gonzalo was not without incident. Although not related directly to the storm, a 49-year-old motorcycle rider lost his life in a road traffic crash on Court Street, becoming the 11th road traffic fatality for 2014. Police Media and Public Relations Manager Dwayne Keynes fills us in.
Trevor, a few minutes after 12:30 on Saturday afternoon, police responded to a report of a collision that took place at the junction of Court and Reed Street. It appears that two vehicles were traveling at the intersection when they collided. Now, a father and son, a 49-year-old man and his 14-year-old son, were taken to the hospital where the 49-year-old man from Cedar Park died as a result of his injuries. His son received minor injuries, and the rider on the other cycle received injuries to his leg. Now, police are appealing for witnesses or anyone who may have seen the collision to contact police on 295-0011. It also underscores a very serious message. We've just come through a very serious hurricane, and the infrastructure of our country has been challenged. We're asking for people to slow down on the roads and to make wise decisions. In some areas, the lights are not working, and in some areas, they're working intermittently. We're asking people to exercise judgment, to slow down on the roads. We need for people to be safe. Yes, we've gotten through the hurricane, but the infrastructure of our island is challenged. We have debris and the like in the road, and we want people to be safe. Slow down on the roads, be very mindful of obstructions that are on the road, and take your time. The life you save could indeed be your own.
Meanwhile, Bermuda Regiment soldiers forced to pluck a man from a boat in St. David's on Friday that was being battered by heavy seas. Members of the regiment Operational Support Unit and airport-based immediate response team joined police and firefighters after they were alerted to a boat in trouble at the dock at the end of Chapel of Ease Road. The man, who was not named, had to be taken to the Lamfogo Urgent Care Center before later being accommodated at Southside Police Station. Meteorologist Jeremy Entwistle at the Bermuda Weather Service telling us he was satisfied that most people had prepared for this hurricane.
Yeah, I think that we had the warnings out in plenty of time. I think everybody was more than ready after Tropical Storm Faye passed us on Sunday. The warnings were out, and we were within about 10 knots of our intensity forecast. So we got about 125 knots on the island here. We were looking for up to possibly 140, so we did a pretty good job.
I think that the major part of this whole system was when, after the eye wall had passed Bermuda, to take us through what actually was happening with the system as we got that onslaught, I believe, from the northwest.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, as the southern portion of the eye wall passed, we got some pretty strong showers along that, and the winds came of the west to northwest. That's when we got the strongest winds here. Across the island, strongest sustained winds were 95 knots, which puts us just right on the Category 3, Category 2 line. And with those showers, we got gusts up to 125 knots at that time. That was about just after midnight last night.
At the King Edward Memorial Hospital, 25 patients had to be relocated from the continuing care unit to the safety of the Old Emergency Department as the hurricane gained momentum. The Chief Executive Officer, Vanetta Simons, also reporting that roof damage also impacted the Montrose Cottage, which houses Agape House as well as the CCU building. And there was flooding in the hospital's general and the new acute care wing. Medical staff were on lockdown for the entire buildup and passage of Gonzalo. And just as the storm was making its presence felt at 7:15 p.m. Friday, a baby boy was delivered.
The most significant response was when we incurred structural damage to the roof of the continuing care unit. So patients had to be transferred from that unit in the midst of the hurricane into a safe area. And most of those patients were accommodated in our decanted emergency department. That was an extremely difficult time, but the staff who'd stayed over for the hurricane all rallied together and made sure that every single patient was moved. And when I toured earlier this morning, they were all resting comfortably in their new temporary accommodations. We also incurred some structural damage to our Montrose roof, where our Human Resources Department is housed, as well as to our Agape House roof. Each of those areas are now being totally assessed, and we will get right to work making sure that they are ready for business on Monday. Our staff, they have been really great. They were locked in from 7 o'clock on Thursday evening in preparation. We managed to house 2 shifts of staff to ensure that we had full coverage for the entire event. And currently we are standing our Hospital Incident Command Center down, and the staff will be relieved to go home.
I wanted to speak to you as well on a visitation at the hospital. Certainly that would also be impacted as we try to get your operation back to some level of normalcy.
The expectation is that on Sunday and Monday, going into next week, we will revert to our normal visitation hours of 12 to 8 p.m.
Are you pleased with how the hospital was able to respond in this emergency situation?
I was extremely pleased with the response. As I said, staff did come together. They did stay in, have been in the hospital since 7 o'clock on Thursday evening. We had our medical specialists here, everyone from OBGYNs who were here to deliver a hurricane baby, a baby boy who was born at 5 pounds 2 ounces, 7:15 last evening, straight through to our many dietary environmental services staff, laundry staff, our nurses. They all stayed here. And the hospital accommodated them, so they had areas to rest, and they were provided for in terms of food. Not only did our staff stay to support our actual patients, we also accommodated maternity patients who were high risk in the community. 13 of them stayed over, as well as a couple of individuals who require oxygen, and we're concerned about the power going out. They also were accommodated here. So the hospital met the needs of many in the community over the past 48 hours. And as usual, the employees rose to the occasion and really supported and made sure that patients were safe, both at King Edward and at MWI.
Now, you did mention some structural damage, a little bit more specific on that, and was there any resulting flooding, particularly in the new wing of the hospital?
Yes, we did have flooding in a few areas in the general wing and in the acute care wing, but I must say the response to that was immediate, and in all of the areas that I walked today, you can barely see any evidence that there was flooding. So the crews were there to support the acute care wing as well as the general wing, and both crews were extremely responsive in addressing concerns as they happen. It was all managed through the Hospital Incident Command Center that was set up.
Elsewhere, it goes without much surprise that the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Department dispatchers received more than 100 hurricane-related calls leading up to Hurricane Gonzalo's impact on the island. Most of those calls related to destroyed roofs and fires sparked by transformers blowing out, including an incident where barbecue flames burst inside of a home where a barbecue was being operated during the height of Gonzalo's fury. However, as Fire Service Staff Sergeant Roseanne Francis tells us, firefighters were able to reach the blaze in time before any extensive damage could be done.
Prior to the storm and during the storm, we received just under 90 hurricane-related incidents. And just after the storm, we received approximately another 30. And our teams are out there diligently trying to assist and get there to assist the public as soon as possible. The majority of the calls we've received are in reference to structural damage, as in roof, the slates coming off the roof, windows being blown in, doors being blown in. That's the majority of the hurricane-related ones. And then we've also responded to just over 20 medical calls. And those were minor calls. There was nothing that came in that was life-threatening. Also, we've responded to many pole fires, as you can imagine, wires arcing, and automatic fire alarms that have been set off by the high winds and rain. We've had a total recall, and including operational and support staff, we have approximately 100 people on staff. That's at all three stations. We received, during the height of the storm, actually, we received a call for fire in someone's house. Apparently someone was lighting a barbecue, apparently to cook, and a neighbor saw the flames due to an excess of lighting fluid, and they called us. And when it comes to fire or anything that's life-threatening, we will make every attempt to get out to assist the public. To this particular one, we were able to make it to the house, and once we got there, we found out exactly what happened, and the fire was put out. So we did have a call that came in for a fire. It was due to wires that were arcing, and that caused a bit of a brush fire, but we were unable to access the roads at that time, and we had to turn back. So we were unable to make it there, and thankfully it was put out by the rains. We also had another call where someone thought it was fire inside a building. It was what we consider a call of good intent. Once we got to the actual building, we found that it was just something minor. So the only call that we were able to get to where it was actual flames and fire, thankfully that was out once we got there. We have many safety tips and messages that we'd like to get out there. But what I will say, in light of the fact that there are many homes and residences without power, when people use candles, they ensure that they do not leave the house with them unattended. They do not fall asleep with the candles still lit. Ensure that there is at least a 3-foot range around where the candles are to ensure that there is nothing flammable, no flammable materials. Make sure it's not near a window so that it doesn't blow over, and things like that in reference to candles. Also, with generators, there may be quite a few people using generators. We'd like to make sure that they are running the generator in a well-ventilated area. Definitely not inside a house. You should not have any flammable liquids inside the house. When running a generator and refueling it, ensure that the generator cools a bit prior to refueling, as any fuel that can fall onto the exhaust can cause a spark and ignite.
As far as the Aleph Wade International Airport goes, it remained closed on Saturday as of 5 p.m., with Airport General Manager Aaron Adderley telling us it will remain closed until a decision was made to reopen it. With this special post-Hurricane Gonzalo report, I'm Tari Trott reporting for ZBM News 9.